I'm going to begin first with the most obvious tip, which is to start making plans for retirement early on in your career. I feel like if you're watching this video, then you're likely familiar with the main benefit to doing this, which is compound interest. However, because this is so important, I feel the need to belabor the point a bit with three quick scenarios for you. To keep the math more or less clean, we'll just be looking at raw growth potential and ignoring things like taxes and inflation. So, in scenario A, let's suppose that you're 25 years old, you've just started out in your career, you have absolutely nothing saved up for retirement, but you want to retire around 65 years old, give or take. After watching this video, you decide you're going to begin taking $500 a month, every month, and putting it into some sort of retirement account. Assuming an 8% annual return on our investments, 40 years later at age 65, you'll have accumulated approximately $1.7 million. Now let's do the exact same thing, but in scenario B, instead of starting to invest at age 25, you decide to wait until you're 35 years old and more established in your career. Due to starting later, your money has had 10 less years to grow, and you will have approximately $750,000 at age 65. For our final scenario, I'm going to change it up a little bit. Let's assume that you've just turned 18 years old and currently wait tables 3 to 4 nights a week while being a student at college. You don't make a ton of money, but your expenses are very low as you still live at home rent-free with your parents. However, your parents ask that instead of going out all the time, you instead start taking $300 a month and putting it towards retirement. Begrudgingly, you do this and continue to do it all the way until you're 65 years old. Even though you're investing 40% less per month than the versions of you that started at 25 or 35 years old, you will still manage to have accumulated almost $1.9 million by age 65. This is simply because your money has had 7 additional years of growth over the version of you that was 25 and 17 years of additional growth over the version of you that was 35. To put it simply, the sooner you start investing for retirement, the better off you will be. A common rule of thumb is that a minimum of 15% of your income should be going into retirement accounts, but I personally would try and push this number to 20% or higher, especially if you're younger. That is, if it is within your means to do so. Before moving on to the next tip, I have just one last thing to say that applies to investing as a whole. That is, please do not invest your money into a standard brokerage account or things like cryptocurrency until you have maxed out the annual contributions on your tax advantage retirement accounts. For my personal financial system, I do not put a dime into a brokerage account until I have maxed out my HSA, my Roth IRA, and my 401k in that order. Additionally, you should also have an emergency fund with around 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved up. Of course, it is your money, you can do with it what you want, but I have found the most success by following that order of operations. That said, my next tip would be to begin maximizing the benefits of credit cards and their associated bonuses. To give you an example, my fiance and I just finished booking an 11-day trip to Alaska that's going to take place in September. To give you a little more detail on that, our flights through Alaska Airlines were originally around $1,300 in total. However, I'd recently completed a sign-up bonus with Capital One that netted me a bunch of travel points. When we decided to book the flight, I actually charged it to my Capital One card and redeemed those travel points that I'd accumulated against the charges for the tickets. When it was all said and done, we only ended up paying about $350 out of pocket, or around $175 per ticket. The great thing is credit card companies almost always have some sort of sign-up bonus running. These bonuses vary, but they're typically worth anywhere from $200 to $300 in straight cashback, or even more in the form of travel points. All you have to do is spend as you normally would, but charge it to the card you're currently milking for a bonus. The key to doing this successfully is to look for elevated offers. Sometimes a card will offer a 60,000 point sign-up bonus, but if you wait for a while, they might bump that bonus to 75,000 or even 90,000 points. My recommendation would be to always check the credit card or churning subreddits on Reddit before applying for a new credit card to see if there might be a better sign-up bonus going on for a different but similar credit card. I'll go ahead and include the updated churning flowchart from the churning subreddit in the description of this video, as it's a really excellent resource to get started with churning credit cards. On top of sign-up bonuses, however, we also have standard perks and benefits that come from owning specific credit cards. These exist to some degree on virtually every card, but the cards with annual fees will usually have better perks and higher sign-up bonuses. That said, choosing the best primary daily driver credit card is very individual. It largely depends on your lifestyle, your location, and what your highest spending categories are. A pretty good first no annual fee credit card that I I'd recommend looking into is the Amazon Prime Visa card. If you use Amazon Prime in any capacity, this card is pretty much a no-brainer. It gives you 5% unlimited cash back on any Amazon or Whole Foods purchases you make. For comparison, most no annual fee cards only net you around 2% cash back. And yes, to be clear, you do need to have an active Amazon Prime account in order to apply for this card. But I've noticed a lot of people will be Amazon Prime members but not have this card saved as their default payment method or not even have this card at all in their wallets. If you have an existing Amazon Prime membership that you're paying for anyway, there's virtually no reason not to have this card in your wallet. It's essentially free cashback. My last tip might be a little bit controversial, but it's don't rush into moving out of your parents' house. I know this isn't always an option for everyone, but if it is an option for you, I highly recommend you consider it. Personally, I was incredibly lucky to have parents who weren't in any rush for me to leave the second I graduated college. Because of that, I was able to start investing 30% of my income right away, giving my retirement accounts a massive head start they otherwise would not have had. Out of everything I've talked about today, this has had the single biggest positive impact on my financial position. To close off this video, I just wanted to go ahead and throw in a couple rapid fire tips. The first one being don't get into massive amounts of debt for an expensive car or house that is not within your budget. Buy a dependable, reliable vehicle and use it until the wheels fall off. And when you're ready to buy a house that is within your means to continuously pay for. The second one being if you have any high interest private student loans, continuously be on the lookout to refinance these. The process is very straightforward and it could save you thousands of dollars down the road as you go into starting to repay back your student loans. And lastly, don't forget to invest in yourself. What I mean by this is you should be proactively taking some of your funds and putting them towards things that will allow you to improve yourself. These can be things like getting a gym membership, buying healthier food, purchasing study materials for exams in order to get certifications. Investing and improving yourself will pay dividends into your health or education, which will only help you to save money or make more money in the long run. Hopefully you guys found these tips helpful. I did want to note here at the end of the video that I'm absolutely not a financial expert or anything like that. I just find this sort of stuff interesting and figured I'd share my approach to personal finances a little bit with you. Thank you very much for watching and have a good one.